Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how I made this Mini Baskets and Blooms bunny basket. I'll be using the Baskets and Blooms die with the Big Shot to create the basket, and then we're going to modify what the actual basket looks like to make it just a little bit smaller. So to get started, I want to show you what that die looks like. We're going to be using, this is all the pieces that comes in the die, and we're just going to be using these two basket pieces. There is a tiny little score line, about a 1/4 inch score line on each of these pieces that we will be cutting off to make the modified version of this basket. So we're going to start by getting our Big Shot, and then you're going to take a cutting pad and then layer the Big's die right on top. Here's the two pieces, or the two basket pieces, and we're using this Designer Series paper that comes in the Neutrals paper stack. You're going to layer that right over the two basket pieces, just so that that covers those. And then you'll take your cutting pad and layer that on top, and then you can just roll that right through the Big Shot. So now you have your two basket pieces. Okay, so on each of these pieces there's that score line that I talked about earlier. And we're just going to take the paper cutter and we're just going to line up that score line on the cutting line, and we'll just cut those right off for both pieces. Okay, so now we're ready to do our score. Okay, so I've got my scoring blade on here, and you're going to line up the top edge of the basket piece with the 3/4 inch line on the ruler here, and then the bottom edge goes at the 1/2 inch line. So you just kind of position that so you've got 3/4 of an inch at the top and 1/2 inch at the bottom, and then use your scoring blade to do that score line. Then flip this over and you're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. 3/4 and 1/4. Score along there, and then you're going to take your bottom edge, line that up at 3/4 of an inch. And I know this is kind of rounded, but just kind of eyeball it and get it as close as you can to even. Doesn't have to be exact. Okay, so you'll do that with the other piece as well. Okay, so I have both scored pieces. I do have a template here that I want to show you. This will help you kind of understand better where you want to score, where the score lines are, where the cutting lines are, which are indicated by these darker marks. I kind of cut these out over here, so that's where you're going to want to cut out those bottom notches. And then it also shows you where the sticky strip is going to be applied once we're ready to do that. So I'm going to start off by cutting along the score lines. On this piece I'll just do exactly as this template shows and just cut out those notches. Okay, so there's that. And on this one I'm just cutting right up to that score line and just leaving the flaps in place. Okay. And then you're just going to score or fold along all these score lines with your bone folder. Okay, so once you have all of those folded, then you can see better where these lines are, and you can go ahead and apply your sticky strip. And the sides that are showing on this template are the right sides, the polka dotted sides of the designer paper. So you're going to take your sticky strip and just apply to the flaps, just like it's showing here. Okay, so once you have the sticky strip applied the way that it needs to, in all the places that it needs to go, what you're going to want to do, I'm going to move this aside, what you're going to want to do is remove this backing from the bottom, and we'll do that first. I'm going to get these flaps, sort of fold those out of the way and turn this over, and that will allow me to center these bottom pieces together. So just kind of center those as best you can and adhere those together. And then once you have that done, you can fold these flaps back in to the inside. And we can take the backing off of the bottom pieces and then both of the sides. And then you're just I'm gonna fold these up so that they don't stick right away. The sticky strip is real sticky, so you don't want it adhering before you're ready. I kind of set this on the bottom of the table and then try to square these edges up as best as I can. I'm going to fold and try to match up the top edges as even as I can on these sides, because that's probably going to show the most. And then you can turn and match up the other side with the top edge. Okay, and then adhere that the rest of the way. Then when you're ready to adhere your flaps, once you've got your sides together, you just take your bone folder and push those flaps down inside to adhere those. So there's your little basket. So that is complete. Now we're ready to do the bunny. Okay, so to do the bunny, we're going to need several punches, and here's just kind of a guide to tell you which size punches in which colors you're going to need to create this little bunny. I'll set that aside. I have already punched these out, and I'm going to take my pink Pirouette ink pad and a sponge and just sponge around the edges of each of these white and pink Pirouette pieces just to soften the edges. So this just gives a little more dimension to all of these pieces. And then when you're done, then you're going to take your early espresso marker, and I just put a dot right in the middle of the 1 3/8 inch circle. This is sort of a guideline for me to know where his nose, approximately where his nose is going to go. And then that way I can position the eyes and the mouth a little bit easier. So I'm going to start by putting a little bit of this multi-purpose liquid glue where I want his eyes to go. And then I'll put a dot down here for his mouth. And then I'm just going to take and position his eyes. Get those into place where you want them. I got my dot a little off center, but it's still a guide. And then his mouth. And then I just want to take these two little pieces that I'm going to use for his cheeks and make sure that I did a good job of positioning my eyes and mouth. So now that I know that those are good, I can add liquid glue where his cheeks are going to go. And put his cheeks into place. And then I'm just going to make sure that I've got those on there good. Okay, so once you've got his cheeks in place, you can take your early espresso marker and just draw his whiskers. And I'm taking the fine point tip to draw his whiskers. Okay, next I'm taking the paper piercing tool, And I'm just going to put a hole right there where his nose goes so that I can insert the brad. It's a Pretty in Pink brad that we're going to use to create his nose. So just punch a hole with that. And then you can take the Pretty in Pink brad and put that inside and just open up those little tabs on the back. I'm using a bone folder because it's much easier to open those. So there's his face. One more thing I'm going to do is use the white gel pen to just highlight his eyes. And so his little face is ready to go. Okay, one thing I did need to tell you, Stampin' Up! No longer has the 1/4 inch circle punch, but you can use a regular standard handheld punch that you can just get anywhere. So that's how I punch these out, and that'll work for his eyes and his little mouth. Next, I'm going to take my basket and I'm going to go ahead and use some snail adhesive to apply his body, and you want to leave enough room so that you can put his feet there at the bottom. And then I'll take the inside pink oval for his ears and just attach that with snail. We're just going to center these right over each other. Okay, so there's his ear. Then we're going to take our mini glue dots, and you're going to want to attach, the way that these are going to go together is right behind his head, so you're going to put a glue dot on the front lower edge of his ears. Just attach it, position and attach his ears where you want them. Okay, so there's his other ear, and then I just want to fold that over so it looks a little floppy. There's his little ear. And now I'm just going to take a Stampin' Dimensional to pop his head onto his body. So we just center that over the other circle. And then we're going to take the 3/4 inch circle, cut it right in half. This is going to create his paws. And then again, I use the fine point tip of my marker and drew the paws on. And then I took a little bit of the liquid glue. And then you can go ahead and attach his paws just down here at the bottom. Okay, so there's that. So one last step. We're going to take a piece of the Pretty in Pink grosgrain ribbon, just tie it in a knot. This is about 4 inches long. Tie it in a knot, and then you can take another mini glue dot and just attach that to the ribbon. Position that into place, and then you can trim the ends for his little bow. And that is it. So your little bunny basket is complete. If you have any questions, please just email me. I appreciate you watching. Thanks a lot.